Very good morning to you. Welcome back to Radio Generation. The time right now is 5 minutes past 8 o'clock. My name is Mungala Mbuvi. I am with CT Muga in the studio, but most importantly, we do have a guest, and we're about to have a very interesting conversation. He's not new to this studio. He's actually been here a couple of times, and the conversation we had last time was still on leadership, and today the conversation still continues. I'm talking about the Interim Executive Director, ActionAid International Kenya. That is Samson Orao. And the topic today is why leaders should walk the talk. Bwana Orao, karibu tena sana to Radio Generation.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
It's good to see you again.
Grab that microphone for me. Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you again.
Yes.
You're well?
We are very much well, as you can
Amazing.
see. Sijui kama notice I'm now glowing. Na sijui kama notice CT ameanza kupata mashavu kidogo.
Yeah.
Life is good.
Nimeanza kupata mashavu.
When you came here bro, zilikuwa flat.
Sasa
hizi imeanza ni kama una mandazi unakula kidogo.
You see now the gray hair means also wisdom that comes with age.
Actually, his gray hair is no longer gray anymore. I mean, there are some shades of gray.
Is he dying it? Shades of gray. Is he dying it?
No, he's not dying it. I think now it's just becoming black. He's becoming younger and younger. Next time utamwona jamaa atakuwa na six pack. City Buga, good morning. Bwana Samson,
morning Buvi.
A pleasure to have you.
Thank you Buvi.
As always.
Yeah.
How are things at ActionAid International Kenya before we dive into the deep stuff of the conversation?
ActionAid is busy as usual, but we are grateful that we are still able to serve our communities living in poverty and exclusion.
Right.
This is that time of the year when we are planning for the new year 2026, but also really working hard as we close the final quarter to be able to ensure that we deliver our mandate. And we are seeing issues around hunger, that are happening. We are seeing the issues of shrinking civic space, the young people's work, the violence against women, but we're also seeing a lot of commitment and support coming from Kenyans. So I would say that we are grateful, and we are also continuing to deliver our mandate and really work hard at it.
Good stuff. Leaders, when we say leaders should walk the talk, what exactly do we mean? Because for a very long time, that has been a statement we usually say, and even the leaders themselves, political or otherwise, they usually come and say so and so is not walking the talk. Don't vote for this person or consider voting for this person because this person is better than the other. Yet, to be honest, I feel like they're all just singing in unison in one choir.
Buvi, there's need for hygiene in public discourse in Kenya. There's need for a lot of hygiene, a lot of sanitation in it. The things that we talk about as public servants, the things that we talk about as elected officials from the highest levels all the way, if you look at what the leadership says and what the leadership does, there's lack of congruence in it. And so it leaves Kenyans a little lost. It leaves Kenyans a little confused. And that also leads to a lot of apathy because then people know, but you are preaching water and you are drinking wine. You are telling us don't do this. You are telling us we will fight corruption. You are telling us we will fight ethnicity. You are telling us we will look at appointments. And then when we look at your actions, and this is across all levels from MCAs to governors, the county government, going to the national government, it is all the same thing. And that's why then you see Kenyans ganging up and Kenyans saying, enough is enough. We will hold you to account and we will push back. And that creates a room for a lot of uncomfortable conversation, but necessary conversation.
When you say Kenyans will push back, of course Kenyans have had that opportunity over and over again, but I feel like they have gotten to a point whereby they're changing tact for whatever reason. I mean, perhaps they've realized what has been happening before isn't really yielding what they expected. But do you feel like Kenyans still have the fight in them to continue holding or asking for the right kind of governance?
Kenyans love this country. I think, having traveled to different places of the world, Kenyans are one of the most hardworking populations I have ever come across. We are very patriotic as Kenyans. We have our own challenges internally, but you see, whenever whether it's Jirani just across the border, or whenever somebody else wants to come and attack Kenyans, you see, we all gang up together and we say, we will teach you a lesson. So that tells you that people still believe in the country. The disillusionment comes in when we look at the people that we have elected to office, that now make a lot of promises in campaigns. We will provide free primary education, and then now you are struggling with issues around capitation. We will ensure that there's employment, and we see young people, 76% of young people are not employed. We will ensure that we have reduced the cost of fuel and the cost of hunger. And you walk into a supermarket and you go to the till and you sweat. In fact, people nowadays do not shop in supermarkets.
Right.
You would go to your own local grocer and buy your 1 kg, buy your half kg, buy your 2 small liters of cooking oil and so on, just what you need for the day. So this creates a lot of discontent then. But if you see the way especially young people are responding, if you see what's happening on social media, if you see the kind of mobilization which is taking place, we haven't lost it yet. And I know that even as we move towards the next election, we will put all these leaders to account. We will hold them to account. It's a necessary conversation. A lot of people are unhappy with it, and that's why you see the police being misused. You see a lot of abductions. You see extrajudicial executions. You see a lot of police brutality. There are small protests. I was watching one of the leaders on TV just this week saying, when you want to protest in a quiet manner. But what does our constitution say, right? What does the law say? Because our constitution says, we the people. Right? And leaders are getting their power of office, the autonomy of office from the people. It is delegated responsibility. And that is where we have to start from. So these conversations may be uncomfortable. There's a lot of pushback. Look at the recent laws that were put in place and the way there's argument about, these cyber crimes, we will only use it to monitor. We will not use it for bad. We will just ensure that. And we try to find excuses around processes which should involve public discourse and public engagement. So it just has to happen.
Why is it so difficult to just deliver on election promises? And I'll talk about Kenya because I'm not really, I don't know about the rest of the countries, but even with President Kibaki, one of the most loved presidents that this country has ever seen, he still had people telling him that, hapa kidogo iko shida. And that is why in 2007 we saw what we saw. When we come to President Uhuru, during his tenure, I saw day after day, even him being bashed by civil society and other and politicians alike. When we are now in the dispensation of, Dr. Ruto, we also seen something similar. I mean, it's like, it's either we have set the bar too high in terms of what we expect, or
they are doing very low, right?
That's also another option.
Because, we have our aspirations as Kenyans. We have what we desire to be able to see. We have worked for this country since 1963, working very hard. Our forefathers fought for us to be able to get freedom when we were fighting for independence. There are many issues then that Kenyans desired. And when we put together the constitution, then we said, these are the aspirations that we have. And this is what we want to see working for us as a country. And then you come to a point where the promises that have been made versus the delivery, the actual delivery, it's not commensurate. You can't see it. Why then people went to protest in 2007 was because of grand corruption in Kibaki's government. And we saw all those scandals, the shipping scandals, that were involving people high in office, and it went to the courts, and some people then went to court all the way until Kibaki retired. We saw that same thing with the Uhuru administration, and we saw Eurobond coming up, right? And the ethnicity that really emerged out of it, the quote-unquote cleansing that took place out of it, and those questions around Aror and Kimwarer and all that, and the Kemsa, people walking with money in bags, in gunny bags. So that was there. President Ruto is currently here, and the same issues again are emerging. Issues around grand corruption, issues around people carrying sacks of money, actual sacks of money, and throwing it around in funerals. First-term members of parliament who are buying helicopters and are buying houses in the UK and so on. So all these issues are issues which concern Kenyans, because then you see politicians living large. And we know what politicians earn in Kenya. And we also know that Kenyan politicians are the highest paid in the world.
Yes, they are.
Even if you look at our economy versus what the politicians earn and the kind of benefits politicians want to get, it's immoral. But again, compared to that, you also look at the commitments they have made, the kind of life they are leading, versus the kind of life the voter, the mwananchi, the mwenye nchi, the kind of life Wanjiku, Atieno, Korir, and whoever, the kind of life they are leading. You can't compare. So could we just have public service working for Kenyans? Kenyans don't ask for much.
How is it in other countries? For example, we sat here with a lady who is a leader in the US. I think she was the equivalent of like an MCA, and she was telling us that in some of the counties in the US, they don't even get paid. It's a voluntary situation whereby you're only facilitated to get to where you're supposed to get in terms to the assembly to legislate. Once you're done, nivyo, and you're actually given a very brief window, X amount of I think it's weeks, to do all your legislation in the entire year. Then you go do your other businesses. If you're a radio presenter, go continue being a radio presenter. If you're a banker, go continue doing your banking. But in Kenya, we have made politics a lifelong career.
You travel to Europe, go to countries like Denmark.
Right.
And you meet ministers in government riding a bicycle to work, riding a bicycle to parliament, right? No chase cars, no blocking of roads. They're just there with their bike. And they come and do their job and they go home.
Yes.
You go to the UK and you walk on the streets of London.
Yeah.
And you meet the head of FCDO just walking around with his coat. Would you see that in this country?
What?
You see, now that is a question.
Hey.
That everybody then wants to have chase cars and you want to block the roads because the MCA is passing. It's a problem that also stems from us, as Kenyans, as voters, because then I can tell you that if I picked a vehicle and we walk with the city to my village and I have a vehicle that is city size, right?
Yeah.
And you go in and people look at you and they say, oh, Mheshimiwa, you can come and take this position and so on. So Kenyan election is about public display of wealth. That's why the elections become very expensive. And that's why we also talk about corruption, because you possibly have to buy your seat.
Yes.
To go through this, you have to buy many voters. You have to be able to bribe people. You have to be able to hire security and have goons that are on your beck and call. So it's a problem that we have to deal with as a country. It's something that really goes deep into our culture, but the right time to start it is now, knowing that in just under 2 years, we are going to the polls. If we are not ready now, we will go into 2027 and we will be having this discussion again in 2028.
True. But Samson, why, every time we have this discussion, the thing that strikes me as worthy of further discussion is why it is we have accepted that this is the norm. Even our discussions, we seem to have the understanding that this is the norm, which means we have accepted it is the norm. Why have we accepted it is the norm?
It's something which I would explain as having been institutionalized from independence. We fought for land and we said we want our country and we want to be able to take back the control of the instruments of leadership. I'm avoiding the use of the word power right now. And then when that happened and we got our independence, we simply turned to be the white man who colonized us.
We didn't actually. Some of us did.
The people who remained in office as leadership, the politicians who were in government right from Jomo Kenyatta and the people surrounding him, turned into the black man in a white mentality inside them. And so now the issue then began coming up. Let's acquire land. And so you acquire provinces of land. Next thing is, it's about display of power. So I need the police walking around me. Next thing is, I need to build a mansion and I need to have home guards and I need to be able to do all this. And so then, sadly, you start telling Kenyans in their conscience that the only way for you to be right in this country is to have economic means of control. So then it comes into a point where it's about primitive accumulation. You accumulate knowing that this is the instrument that you will use to control your enemies.
You know, as a child, immediately after independence, and I grew up.
Now guess your age.
Age you can. The period immediately after independence, that is the period I was in primary school. So some of these things I lived through. The corruption you speak of didn't exist. It honestly did not. The police individual who then wore shorts that we derogatorily called Kaptula. Okay?
That's not like a good name. Okay.
You call it a good name if you wish.
Okay.
You bribing a policeman was hazardous because you could actually get jailed. The politicians then, members of parliament, were not paid any big salary to speak of. Councillors, some were actually volunteers. They were paid something like a sitting allowance at they were not paid a lot of money. So what you're speaking of and what was being mentioned here existed. Very many people who were in government then were actually nationalists. And if you look at the things that they set in force, the best example are the settlement schemes around the country. There are those who argue that the settlement schemes were predominantly for people who had been displaced, more so in central Kenya. And they're not wrong, because settlement schemes were created in the areas like, say, what we know as Nyandarua County now. But that was not the end of it. There were settlement schemes in Bura. There were settlement schemes in Lamu. There were settlement schemes in Bungoma. There are settlement schemes in Kisumu, what is now Kisumu County. There were settlement schemes all around the country for different reasons. I live in a settlement scheme. The area I come from was prone to floods. So people who came from that part of the country were given priority when it came to moving to this new place. There seemed to have been a thinking among those initial leaders to prove to the white man that they could actually do what the white man was doing. But what you're right about is that corruption did start creeping in. There was something called the Ndegwa Commission. The Ndegwa Commission did many things, said many things, wrote about many things that we never talk about. The one we pick on and we sit on and we continue emphasizing is that the Ndegwa Commission is what gives civil servants the leeway and the right to be able to do business. This discussion that we now have of conflict of interest was unheard of in that time. But it created a problem. And that problem just kept growing and growing and growing. Because if you are in a position of authority within government, and the biggest concessionaire you can think of is the government has the biggest business, has the most money. So if I am the person who has the responsibility of looking after the coffers of government, and I'm also allowed to do business, what stops me from doing the same business? Now, what we're talking about now is when it has run away and it's almost out of control.
City, you know, so I'll talk about politics of patronage. And what you're saying is true, and I wasn't there then, but what you're saying is true, right? We had the Kenyatta administration and the elite in the Kenyatta administration. And then we had Moi coming in and saying, I will do Nyayo. I will continue doing what Kenyatta was doing. Right? And then we have just about 4 years after Moi coming into power, we had the coup, or the attempted coup. What do you choose to do? You choose to buy support You choose to see how you can stabilize your government and your administration, and you begin allowing politics of patronage. And that is when we see. I would go to hospital in the late 80s and early 90s, and you would not pay anything. You simply walk, pick a card, and there was a civil servant, a clerk at the reception, pick a card, they would register you, you would walk in, the doctor would see you, you'd go to pharmacy, you'd get your medication, and you will go home.
As simple as that.
And yes. I would, wearing my primary shorts from Karapul Primary in Siaya, I would get Nyayo bus, the green buses. I would board Nyayo for free, as long as I was wearing uniform. But I only did that for how many years? Maybe 2 years or 3 years. And then the buses slowly began becoming scarce, and then they were now no longer there. And then now you had to start identifying yourself to a point where you literally come from this village and this community. It goes all the way to, can you tell us the clan you come from? And from the clan, whose son are you? Your name. You are who? From where? So we lost it then at that point. So we've come to a point where we are so self-serving that it's about me, myself, and I. And that's why politicians then are able to buy us easily.
By the way,
because then the unification of we are united around one thing. I wonder how people get surprised at why Gen Z went on the street last year.
Because if you said something that I don't want us to lose, it's actually very important. Every time a president is threatened or feels threatened and feels that they want to stabilize, that's when we have these problems that are now endearing. You're actually right. Our laws allowed people to be given land, by the way, because there was a lot of land and a lot of it was not developed. But now the giving of land so that you can stabilize. Some of the biggest beneficiaries of that land in the Moi era were people, military officers.
True. It's politics of patronage. You want to buy loyalty. And so buying loyalty means what is he struggling with? And I give it to you, Mbuvi.
Yeah.
I mean, how much is it? Walk into AFC, let AFC give you a loan, go develop. Walk into KCB. And for a long time during the Moi administration, how many parastatals went under? How many closed? How many banks had issues? What did we see with Goldenberg in 1992? So all these things didn't start today. But we have to come to a point where we stop it, because then what we say as public servants, what we say as leadership, and what we do. He lived at a time when public services were free and they worked. Right now, you walk into hospital and from consultation, in fact, from the gate, you have to convince the askari at the gate why you are going. It's a public hospital, but unaenda wapi, unaenda kuona nani, unaenda kuona mgonjwa, unaenda kuona daktari. And when you want to park your car,
you pay.
You are parking your car in the hospital or on the street. And you have to tip, apart from paying the normal parking fees. You have to tip, because if you don't tip,
security.
No, your car will be vandalized.
So
utapata side mirror imeenda.
So what are we talking about? So our systems are not working for us. The young people then are saying, we don't care about all these things. We don't care about tribe. We don't even care about where you come from. We just want these things to happen. We just want 1, 2, 3, 4 to be done. We don't care about your Mheshimiwa title. And the Mheshimiwas then get surprised. You're not recognizing me.
But actually, why are they surprised?
We've been used to it. I was driving on Gong Road a few years ago, about 4 years ago. So I just left Shell petrol station near the Junction Mall, and I'm driving down towards town. And this guy is behind me with sirens and walkie-talkies, and I'm like, but where do you want me to go? So I didn't move. He's behind me telling me,
Songa kando.
And it's about 4 p.m. I'm like, but if we're heading home, we're all heading. What are you talking about? If we're heading home, we're all heading home, right? That kind of entitlement is what makes people then look at it and say, but you're not recognizing me. this thing that we like when we go to public ceremonies, that all protocols observed, and you want to recognize the highest all the way to the MCA and call everyone and whatnot, because if I don't mention Mbuvi's name, Mbuvi will not come to my function next time. It's quite an unfair process, because then it makes other people feel less than others, because when you travel just outside this country, travel overseas, you're on a train and you are with the Prime Minister on the train and nobody bothers. You would see he has his security, of course, but there's nothing that's so unique that, first of all, he's using a public train, public service, which our politicians here don't use. And when he is there, he's simply on the train with his newspaper. No one bothers about, it's only those who know him who will tell you that's the Minister for Finance who's doing this, or that so and so, that so and so. But it's not something that, but here everything stops for the MCA. Everything stops for the MCA. And when the MCA comes to charge, he has to sit at the front. And he has to go onto the pulpit to speak. Whether he is Christian or not is another point altogether. But, you know, and we allow it.
Yeah. You know, the fundamental difference, public servants or elected leaders in those countries understand that the people are their bosses. They actually understand. And the people never let them forget.
Yeah.
Because the moment you slip, the public will make sure that that job of yours comes to an end. But we support it.
Yeah.
Yes, we do support it. Because when somebody whom you have elected suddenly behaves as though they are a lord, that they are a monarch, and you should understand, and you have completely reversed, you've completely inversed this process. Are we then surprised when there's a complete disengagement with morality and a complete disengagement with what we know as social norms? Because psychologically one doesn't see it, but you realize this thing is warped and it isn't working. But again, our cultures, we do not tell off leaders in public. It has taken these young Kenyans to be able to do that, where they tell you off in public. If I actually approve of that method myself.
Yeah, me too.
For the simple reason that you will now not serve your people with a lot of nonsense that our political, our elected leaders have, because you will know, you will be told. Now, but for the longest time, the norm has been, they're not told.
City, our constitution says, we the people. The power is with the people. Part of this thing, we lost it also quite recently, because we have chapter 6 on ethics and integrity. And we needed to have vetted. There was a process for vetting anybody who's going to public office. We don't do that. We simply allow people then.
Samson, that thing was watered down.
The shadiest of people are the ones who are able to come through, and we question it. And then from there on, now we start weakening institutions so that they deliberately do not work for us. We talk about the public space, the shrinking public space right now. And you saw the Interior CS was on TV saying, shoot them in the legs. That if you are approaching the police station, the police have a right to shoot at you. And some people clapped, right? Some of the people who are probably paid in the crowd clapped. Others, majority of Kenyans said no. But that also tells you the kind of condescending nature that then public servants look at Kenyans with. When you look at that lens, we see ourselves as we are here at the top and we are more deserving, and the rest of you are mere servants who are supposed to come in and facilitate the largesse that we have. So when you talk about these things, when I really get pained when you go to hospital and basic things like paracetamol, basic things, City, like paracetamol are things you can't get. When our public health is relying on donor aid, that when we have the ODA cuts, we are in a crisis. When USAID says we are no longer funding SRHR services, we are in a crisis. Suddenly, we can't address cases of violence against women and girls. We can't. Suddenly, basic things like menstrual hygiene kits are things we cannot get because Trump was paying for it, or Biden was paying for it through USAID, and then now the funding has been cut. So government has to sit and call a crisis meeting to address all these things. Suddenly, you walk into Turkana, and we went to Turkana with some colleagues the other day, and basic things like you have the freshwater lake, right? Lake Turkana is a freshwater lake, but 10 meters from the lake, there's nothing growing there. You walk into Baringo. Part of Lake Baringo has swept away the road, right? And so you are driving through water that's, maybe waist high. But just a kilometer from there, if organizations like ActionAid don't come in to do a borehole, the people there will be dying out of lack of, they can't get basic things. But we have a freshwater lake. The people around the lake are talking about these crocodiles are coming from the lake and they are killing us and they're eating our cows and so on. But when you just drive 10 kilometers and you go to Tangul Bay, then can you mobilize resources and come and do a borehole for us? And when you do a borehole, because we've done boreholes in that area, when you do a borehole, you see the amazing produce the community is able to give. You see very succulent vegetables, giant skuma, that the young people who we say don't like farming, because ActionAid has done a borehole and is piping water to the village, you can see that. But we are forgetting that we have a very freshwater lake that's just there. So you look at all these things and you ask yourself, but why? Why would we be in 2025? Why would we be talking about things like this?
Remember, you asked about the bar. There's a low bar for our leadership, because if you come from a place that actually has water, and part of what you need to have food security is water, then what excuse do you have for your people not being food secure?
You want to keep them poor. That's it.
It looks like your thinking is that they should remain poor.
Yeah, you want, but that's it. You want to keep them poor, because then we don't like. Do you know why people have problems? Why politicians have problems with young people? Because young people, then Kibaki said everybody must go to school, and it's compulsory education. And if you are a parent and your child is not going to school, we will arrest you, and we will use chiefs to arrest you. So post 2002, a lot of these children then were schooled. They are the young people we are talking about today. They are educated to some level. There's access to technology. Again, thanks to Kibaki, there was a lot of internet penetration that went all the way to the villages. So they can access information and they can see their counterparts from all over the world. The kind of thinking and the upbringing that they had is not about service. It's not about you are here to be seen and not to be heard. Right? So they will question, and they are right when they ask them these things. It has to make sense. It's about logic. You've taxed me so much. Can I see the value of service that you're giving me with the tax that you have collected? But then when you now start asking these questions, the next thing is a gun is pointed at your head. The next thing is you're emerging either in city mortuary or in a dam somewhere, or in a forest somewhere. So we then are trying to silence conversation. And when we are silencing conversation, the people that we are killing are innocent. What do they have?
Actually, Samson, we are not silencing conversation. We are silencing the Constitution.
That's it.
The fight here is against the Constitution, because it is the Constitution that gives these rights.
That's it.
It is the Constitution that enables you to understand what ought to happen and how you need to be served. Now, when somebody seeks to reverse that process, they're not fighting you. You are just the living testimony of the Constitution, because you're abiding by its dictates. So when someone seeks to kill you, to shoot you, to jail you, they're suppressing the Constitution. And right from the Uhuru government, that is what has been the norm.
Yes.
There has been a concerted and direct effort to ensure that this Constitution doesn't live out its full mandate.
That's true.
Within the time of the Uhuru government is when this chapter 6 we like speaking of was completely bastardized, to the point where a simple thing, how is it that it is possible to remove a governor and you can't remove an MP? It's the MPs who make these laws. Governor, you can remove.
Yeah.
We've even removed a deputy president. But you cannot remove an MP. You can't. And yet you should be able to. How is it that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption gives a list to IEBC and says,
so and so?
Look, given what we have, even in the much reduced form of Chapter 6, these people should not be allowed to vie for the election.
City, did you see the furor that came from Parliament the other day when the president said, "We know you, and we know you are corrupt, and we know," and there was a question at the meeting at State House that there was this man who came, we gave him this money atilikuwa to facilitate you. Did you people receive the money? And the MP said no. And then the president said, "We will act, we will come and pick you." And Parliament, both houses, the National Assembly and the Senate were up in arms. They were very unhappy. And they said, you cannot single us out. You cannot blame Parliament. But like you rightly say, the instruments of state, the executive and the cabinet and the institutions that come with the executive, and then we have the National Assembly and the Senate as the legislature, and then we have judiciary. If you look at the three arms of government, the one that still has some element of confidence from Kenyans is judiciary. It's also fast waning, but it's there. But if you compare Parliament and the people who get to office and why then young people went to Parliament, that you have your message. If you look at the executive, you have your message as well. Devolution is a good thing. Devolution works. It takes services closer to the people. But devolution also has its own challenges. And we buy this, there was a joke, the non-carcinogenic wheelbarrows that we bought. And the governor wants to do a palace, the governor's official residence. And there was this governor that I know that bought sodas at 1 million shillings, a crate of soda at 1 million shillings. And you look at all that, and you look at all these multi-millionaires who are now creeping up in the villages. That tells you where our problem is. So until this discourse is had, when you talk to young people, they tell you what we want is for lazima work. But the lazima work, even if I don't associate it with whoever has been using that slogan, the lazima work is not working as it is today. You walk through the streets of Nairobi, even if you left here now and you went to CBD, there are many things you will question. And you'll ask yourself, but why would things be happening the way they are happening?
But
so like he says, we have taken our time to ensure that we have bastardized the Constitution of Kenya. And we are increasingly ensuring that all the state organs that are supposed to have power, protected power, we are weakening them. We are weaponizing the public. And from there, we are also then ensuring that we break people into you have and you don't have. So
they have and they have not,
So I go to the car wash and it's wewe ndio uko na pesa, wewe ndio shida zangu, and you're asking yourself, but now this jalopy of mine, really, so that class war, I don't think it's going to work eventually. We've seen the use of goons that has been going out, so that protests are now no longer protests. They are goons who are protesting. And now we don't care about public life. We care about property so much that we will then shoot these protesters. And when you're protesting, protest silently. And the Constitution says you only need to notify the police. But the OCS will tell you this thing is not approved. But who is supposed to approve it?
I remember.
Sorry.
Please, no, Paul, go ahead.
I mean, I was shocked earlier on about this crate that is 1 million. Maybe it's non-carcinogenic. I don't know. But if we are being honest with some of the things that both of you have said here, I feel like everything has been the way it is by design. We have weakened all those institutions that we have mentioned here by design, so that when someone wants to have their way, they can have their way, and nothing, absolutely nothing will stop them.
My thinking, movie, on the contrary, is that the resilience that Kenyans have will put all this to a stop.
The Kenyans that are, and you're right to say that.
The resilience that young people have will put all this to a stop.
But they're the same young guys who are dying in the streets.
But shot. You see, it's an unfortunate situation. Why are they dying? It's because they are being shot, right? And who's shooting them? It's state organs and militia allegedly imported from neighboring countries that are doing it. And it's happening across the region. It's happening. You saw what happened to Boniface Mwangi. Now we are talking about Nicholas Oyo, who's disappeared in Uganda. And those kinds of questions, then we are asking ourselves, but what exactly is happening in the region? Kenya has been known for a long time to be the peace haven of East and Central Africa. But right now, we've just joined the bad manners of the leadership of the region, and it's creeping into us. And so it's no longer safe then to go on the street to be able to, you would get very easily picked up and disappear. And many people have disappeared. And the ones who've not disappeared are perhaps because they have some sort of following, or there was someone who was able to follow them on their behalf. The resilience that is there, because like I said, Kenyans are a very resilient people, and we are so passionate and proud about this country, regardless of the challenges that we have.
Yes.
I have not lost faith, especially in the young people of our wonderful country. We've not lost faith in them. We have not lost faith in processes that are safeguarded by law.
Yes.
And if we're able to ensure that the processes that are broken, then we go to the courts, and the courts have pronounced themselves. And I know one of the challenges has been, we said magazeti ni ya kufunga nyama, so we criticize the media, and we also said court orders are just as useful as toilet paper, right? But then the court orders then are there. Public servants then also need to know that you will be held personally accountable. The issue of orders from above, that no longer exists. You will be held personally accountable. You will be able to account for it. And you may think you are protected right now because you are in public office and you have the police and you can't get arrested. But power doesn't last forever. Institutions of state are there for posterity. It may take 1 year, it may take 10 years. But eventually the long arm of the law will catch up with you. Regardless of who you are, regardless of the position that you hold. Things change over time. For me, that is a confidence that I get. That we look at it and we say, this is not working. But we also know that the young people and majority of very patriotic Kenyans then are also saying, this is our country, we will do the right thing. Against a lot of pressure, against a deliberate mechanism that has been put to slowly desensitize you from being a Kenyan and now turn you one into, I come from this community or that other ethnic community, or two, I come from this class and the other one comes from this class. I have, he doesn't have. And so city living in Karen and driving this type of car, then city is the source of my problems. That will also get broken with time. So regardless of all these things, when we have, and a classic example is you saw the support that people had for Harambee Stars during the Chan games recently.
Yes.
So when we have those moments, it tells you our problem is in the politics. Our problem is not in us.
Perhaps one thing we need to keep in mind is that these same guys who are being shot in the streets, one day, one time, that generation will actually be the ones sitting in parliament.
Yes.
They're the ones who are going to be sitting in the executive. They're the ones who are going to be sitting in parliament and in the judiciary, deciding on cases. And perhaps when that time comes, some of the individuals that are causing hell for us right now, perhaps, like you've said, that's the time they'll be picked
Actually,
up.
it will happen. This is not a perhaps moment. You only need to be a Kasari, to have a Kasari interest in history. Do you think that the president of Madagascar thought that he was ever going to not be the president? He did not. He disregarded what he was being told. When there's a protest, you're actually being told something. You're being told forcefully that, look, we don't like this. And you have an opportunity to change it. But when you ignore it, it overtakes you. All these countries, you just keep mentioning them one by one, whether you're talking about Nepal,
Bangladesh.
you just keep mentioning them. None of those leaders thought. Sheikh in Bangladesh thought the military, the army was in her control until she gave them orders to shoot and they said no. Then suddenly, I'm sure the probably others who advised, they told her, madam, what you do, you leave.
Yeah.
Okay, this thing not working for you. Even the military live here. They are our relatives. They are our in-laws. They are our children. So when people get so convoluted in their own well-being and their maddening driven need to accumulate as much as possible within a short time, as much as possible, it's like you're in a hole and you're just digging it deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. The protest is the warning sign that things are not good. Change.
Yeah, pay attention.
Please pay attention. We speak of ourselves as being very nice, lovely people. Yeah, up to a point. 2008 was not in the previous century. It was in this century.
Sure.
Those were Kenyans killing other Kenyans. Okay, just so that we understand it, okay?
Sure.
People who had lived as neighbors were turning against each other. If something has happened once, it can happen again. Don't remove it from your head that it can't happen. The young people showed what they thought about it and they expressed themselves. But when you have leaders predominantly who are found in America and Africa, America has joined us, so we they've joined us, so we have,
we're at par.
We're at par, so we have to include them in our discussions. Okay. Then there's need to understand that when people have made a point, such as the one that Gen Z's made, they need to be supported. Because there are those who are older who know more than they do. They need to be supported. Change comes about from concerted effort, but it comes about by combined energies. Those who have the energy to protest and those who have the strength to do what they do are that group of people. There's another group who may not have that energy, but they have the experience, so they know. There are those who are even older, who have an even longer historical understanding of these things. They help guide that process. When that combined energy is put together, then you bring about change. You see, why am I saying this? I do not think that there's any leadership that cannot change. None. When you look at a president, you forget the president is surrounded by people. There's something that is not spoken of, but it's a reality. Even presidents are held captive. We talk about parliament being held captive. You know my view on that one.
Yes.
But we never talk about a president being held captive. You surround yourself with people whom you think will support whatever it is you want to do. And you realize to get things done, you have to do them through people. You can't do them yourself. You are the president.
Yeah.
The moment you have such a system, you rely on these people. And they know you rely on them. And these people over time acquire their own pockets of power as well. And when things want to change, they are the first to notice this thing is not going to favor me. And they will resist it. The history of this country, if you understand it and know it, we've had moments in history where these individuals who surround the so-called leader have had one view. The leader may have had one view, but these people surrounding him have a different view.
A contrary one.
Yes, and because he relies on them, he will say, okay, if that's what you want, but this is not in the public domain. You see, the changes that we speak of are not always as momentous as the 2024 protests. They're usually things which you don't even see. I liken it to a flash flood. If you're lucky, you'll hear the rumbling of the water. If you're lucky. If you're not, you will realize you're being swept away by a flash flood. I was in Gwasi. Gwasi is in Suba and Omabe County. And I was following a road that takes you from place from Suba County. You now want to go to Migori, you want to go to Sori. A place called Nyandiwa, you go around it. Now, when I was on my way from Homa Bay going in that direction, there were houses on one side. I'd passed that road many times. There were dwellings. There was rain coming. On my way back after a week, those villages had ceased to exist.
They were washed away.
They were washed away. There was even water still on the road. That's a flash flood. If those people had known it was coming, they would have moved. But they didn't know. But the signs usually are there. Because these things don't happen. It's not a one-off. They may have happened before. Now, I look at our politicians and the need for them to discuss development in words, not in deed. But I also look at ourselves and how it is we develop a narrative where nothing happens. Even when something is happening, we refuse to acknowledge it's happening. It is not possible for a government to do absolutely nothing. But it is possible for a government to not do what they are supposed to do. This particular government has demonstrated a capacity that I've never seen before. Just when you think they have made a blunder and they want to make another one, they'll make a bigger one. No, I am not speaking ill of the government.
No, I mean you're stating what you know.
And the blunder is often manifested in individuals who are within government. And we say government, but it's an individual. What again we do not discuss is what it is that this government has had to deal with. When we discuss this government, this is my view, we have to discuss the Uhuru government.
True.
Because the bulk of the problems that this government deals with is a problem that the Uhuru government sort of like bequeathed them. They inherited them. And the people say, oh, no, we don't want to. Actually, you must. You must. We praise the Kibaki government, rightfully so. And we blame the Moi government for many things that were wrong, rightfully so. But we must also understand the times in which the Moi government existed. The Cold War had ended. The dominant power on this globe were the Americans. The Bretton Woods institutions, which are now putting their influence in us. This poll tax things that you're hearing, who do you think brings these things? You think the president wakes up and decides? Why would a president of a country like this one, who knows how people think, initiate something that he knows full well will be unpopular? Why would a president who lives here want to kill young people when he knows very well what will happen? Why would he want to shoot? Why? You see, those are questions that I ask. And I'm thinking, somebody must ask. The very thing that will guarantee that your term will be short-lived, why would you do it?
But I know we are running out of time, but let me just say something to agree with Citi. IMF and World Bank do not work for the interest of Kenyans.
No, they don't.
They don't work for the interest of countries in the global south.
They don't.
The issues around public debt, the issues around austerity measures that they're imposing on us, and they're saying cut back on this employment and freeze hiring of nurses and freeze spending on education and all those things. And you ask yourself, but these are sectors that are affecting Kenyans. They are sectors affecting public service.
Actually, all Kenyans.
And they are not interested in it. And when you have meetings, we had meetings with IMF just 2 weeks ago, and you were asking ourselves, but where is the conversation when you are telling us put in place austerity measures? Whoever audits this debt, and whose debt is it? It was borrowed on whose behalf? Who gave it out?
Yes.
Those are the questions that we ask.
Yes.
So until we are also able to free ourselves and say that the Bretton Woods institutions, IMF and World Bank, are not working in the interest of global south. They are working to retain power and control from a white supremacist narrative, and they are trying to ensure that the economies of scale then remain in the favor of the West until we are acknowledging that level of conversation, and until that conversation also comes to the public discourse and public leadership in Kenya. We will still be having these challenges, because when you do not play then to the powers that be from the West, you suddenly start having the challenges, you start having instability. Oh, now you are quite unpopular. And we've seen also puppet governments have been propped up in the region by some of these institutions. So I totally agree with what you are saying, and we really have to come back and to also tell IMF and World Bank this is not in our interest, right? It's not working for us.
Samson, unfortunately we've come to the end of the show, but kama kawaida, it's a great pleasure.
Thank you, Mbuvi.
Karibu tena na tena.
Thank you so much. I want to appreciate you and thank you to you and City for this moment, and also for, you know, the great Kenyans who are doing great work. We have to remain committed. And I always tell my colleagues, great colleagues in ActionAid, that every single day when we wake up, we have our duty to deliver. We do it in the best way that we can. Thank you so much.
Karibu tena sana. Here's where we take a short break, but we'll be right back in the next hour with a different conversation. Kama kawaida, we ask you to